Okay, welcome back. Today we're taking a look at Insta360's latest camera, the Insta360 One RS. This is the upgraded camera from the predecessor, the Insta360 One R. And if you're unfamiliar with this type of camera, this is an action camera that rivals many others. The purpose of this camera is to have multiple cameras in one. You can see here that the RS is in the 360 mode to do actual 360 shots, but you can modularly take these apart and add in different types of cameras. For example, they have a new, with this upgrade, the 4K boost modification, which has a new 1/2-inch sensor that should be much better in low light settings. So here in the Pacific Northwest, where we don't always have sunshine every day, lots of trees, this should really help bring up the quality and the clarity of our video. So we're gonna be testing that out today. There's a brand new case with a quick release to get the camera out, which I love. That's gonna be super nice for switching around modules. There's a bigger battery here with 21% more battery life, which I've already found to make a huge difference. And then the processing unit, the piece over here that actually runs the camera with your viewing finder there, is a much bigger processor in it. It's capable now, basically running the flow state stabilization in camera instead of having to do it in the app later. So now I can process that all inside the video. So we'll be testing a lot of that today. We'll get into a lot more of the specifics of this camera later, but for now, I've got a lot of stuff to do today in preparation for a trip and other things going on. So we're gonna start a vlog and get out there in real life and to see how well this camera operates and answers the question that I always want answered when I buy a camera. For the average person, will this do the job I want it to do? Will it record the shots I want with the quality I want? Will it make my life easier? Does it do what I actually want the thing to do and what I bought it for? Let's go find out. Alexa, turn off all my lights. All right, now the first thing we're gonna be doing today on this vlog is we're gonna be going out to UPS. I have to drop off a box. And so we're in my Tesla. The camera is mounted right to the top of my, my glass roof. We're using the 360 mod right now, which is 5.7K. And the beauty of this is you can look wherever and create any kind of frame at the end of your drive. I don't have to worry right now about where I want the camera to point, which makes it really convenient. Also, as a guy who's constantly in his car doing driving videos, it is nice to have a split screen where it can actually track my face as well as show you what's going on outside the window for kind of a unique shot like that as well, without having to actually bring two separate cameras, which is the only time I've ever been able to do that is with an Insta360 camera like this one. Next up, I gotta go get the motorhome because we're going camping this weekend. So we're gonna take the bike and we're gonna ride down to the motorhome. We're gonna put it on the 360 camera so you can kind of look around and see. I can show you different parts of the bike ride. And I want you to pay close attention to the stability that that 360 camera provides. You also do get it really well with the 4K boost modification. What we're gonna do is we're gonna mount it right here to the front of the handlebars, and we're gonna go for that ride and get that motorhome. Now in our area, it's a big riding area. Almost everyone around here has bikes. There's about 60 miles of trails right from my house. So it's pretty common for everyone to have bikes just ride right from their front door, which is really cool. So get the helmet on, look a little bit like a duber, we'll hit the road. All right, now I gotta get these gloves on because it is so cold right now. I mean, it's gonna be kind of gloomy and I gotta have this video out here in the next couple weeks, so I don't have time to wait for a warm day to do this, so we're going out in the cold. Now pay attention too with this on just how stable this is. And you can see that my hands are both on the handlebars. I'm not in any way controlling the camera view while I'm riding. It's just recording everything. And then now in post, I can look all over. I can take a look at anything happening around me. Maybe a bear starts chasing me or something cool like that. Well, I can capture it because I can focus the camera on that angle later. I can also show my face and where I'm going all at once to get both split shot like you guys already saw earlier in the video when we were in my car. All right, now watch what happens here. It's really cool. I'm gonna lay the bike down on its side. Watch how the horizon leveling works as I go type in my code here to the RVB gate. So my bike is completely on its side right now, just capturing everything. So all that time, never once touched the camera. And there she be. Been waiting all winter. Can't wait to get this thing out for our first trip of the year. Now, one of the things is you want to really be careful that you keep the lens on these clean, because that, even like a fingerprint smudge of pushing the camera in, and it's a high risk with these types of cameras because you're often touching it as you're changing it in the modifications and all that. So always make sure you just, I don't recommend using a shirt, but a little microfiber cloth shirt will work if you got nothing else. But always make sure you keep that clean. So here's what we got to do first. We're gonna go down underneath the motorhome here because we've already had a Cadillac converter stolen once, and now with the gas prices what they are, people are drilling holes into these big tanks. We have a 75-gallon tank on here and stealing gas. So let's make sure that we're good to drive. You can see there where we kind of straight piped it because we couldn't get a Cadillac converter for like 8 months. So at least that part's good. So you can hear a lot of road noise in the background right now. You got the road right behind us. We're talking right now on the mics, on the camera. And this is now going back to my lav mic, kind of switching back and forth here. All right, let's get underneath and see. All right, gas tank looks good. All right, the big question now, will it start? It's been sitting for about 4.5 months over the winter. Let's see. I have come in and started a few times and it worked, but it's been now about 2 months. So here we go. Please have nothing to drain the battery. Uh-oh. Now I gotta ride all the way back home. I don't have time for this. Well, I managed to get the thing fired up. I just had to go home and get my jump box, but that's all uphill back home, so my legs are a little bit burning right now. Shouldn't have worn jeans. I should have known this happened to me last year. But now we're just at the pumps here waiting, and when you're in a motorhome, you do a lot of waiting as no one wants you to go in front of them ever. And we're in one of the big old bus things. Not big, 30-footer. So anyway, we'll see what this costs us here. Gas prices right now, what are they? All right, we're on iPhone cam here. So far, we're at $36. This is taking a very long time. 20 gallons in, and we're at just over $100. Just maxed out at $125. Only 26 gallons, going for round 2. All right, that's it. The final number. So 92 on the second round and 125 on the first one. So this is an example on the 4K boost lens of the 1/2-inch sensor in a very poorly lit area. I'm inside my motorhome with no lights on. I'm just kind of sitting here, and you can see how it definitely affects the quality and everything, but I'm assuming it's doing a lot better than previous models, versions, because of that new 1/2-inch sensor. So this should be pretty good. And the reason why I bring that up is because if you're going to record, like I mentioned, in the Pacific Northwest, where it's kind of gloom and gray for, half the year, you really have to just be okay with that. And that's just the way it is. Yes, here we go. Here's a little first-person view in a Class A motorhome. Look at how tight everything is. All the trucks, everything. You're just close to everything all the time. You got to watch every angle. Thank goodness they got big mirrors, good turning radius. And what's really cool about this motorhome is when I turn my blinker on, the camera actually shows me that side of the car because there are cameras on the side of the motorhome, which really makes it quite a bit easier to get around. So we're doing good here. Better get both hands back on the wheel. Okay, but now honestly, looking back at that footage now, obviously it's not fantastic. Action cameras are made to be outside with lots of light. I don't have that to use over this last week or week to come. But looking back at that, it's actually much better, a lot less grainier than I was expecting. It doesn't matter if I'm using my new GoPro Hero 10 or any other version of it. If I'm in low lighting, it's usually pretty grainy, and that was actually fairly usable footage, so I was actually quite happy with that. It's not spectacular, but it's better than I was expecting. Now, I know not everybody needs to have multiple different lenses, and you're not going to spend a lot of time probably swapping out the different lenses from the 4K boost lens to the 360 lens. A lot of people are probably going to just use this as a point and shoot go camera. It takes great photos, 48 megapixel photos now as well. You get that really nice wide 6K shot that seems very cinematic as well. You get a lot of different options with these, and if you don't need all these different modules, you don't have to buy them. You can actually part this out and buy what you need, what you want, what you're going to use. As a guy who spends most of his time recording in and around his car, having the ability to have this 360 camera to reframe my shots after makes a lot of sense for me. Now, some of my favorite action shots with this camera are to take and mount it above my car, similar to the way I did when I was walking out of my house to my car, where it looks like I have a drone actually hovering above my car, and that's all done with the 360 camera. Also taking it and mounting it to the sides of my car to get some wheel shots into some other perspectives is a really nice feature. And again, what's so great about their cameras that I like about Insta360 is you can do most of those modifications all after the fact in the app, and you don't have to overthink what you're looking at right then and there. Now, I'm not a super high tech guy. I don't know a whole lot about cameras. I know about using them. I make a lot of videos with them, and all I really know is do they work for me or do they not work for me? But I'm gonna give you some specs on these cameras so you get a little idea of what to expect, what's different from the last one. But before we do that, if you're wondering where you can get one of these cameras, I put the link down below in the description down there. It's my associate link back to Insta360, so be sure and use that link. And then you can rest at night knowing that I've exploited our social relationship for money. No, but seriously, buy it with the link. Okay, so let's talk about the camera. First of all, as mentioned earlier, the camera does come with a new battery. It's a little bit bigger in size. In fact, it has 21% more capacity than the previous battery. That 21% is actually incredibly noticeable. I found that while I was recording and editing my app, I was able to take all those shots on the first day I was out recording and get it all off my phone through Wi-Fi transfer. And at the end of the day, I still had 48%, you're seeing it on the screen, left on my phone, which is highly impressive before I was swapping out batteries very quickly. Now, the 4K boost lens is one of the biggest upgrades that came from the R to the RS. And this has a boost because the sensor is bigger. It's just able to capture a ton more light and sharpness than the previous version. And it's noticeable. I'm looking at in the motorhome shots here, looking at the clarity of it. And although it's not perfect, I never really expected it to be, it's a lot better. And it's actual usable footage. I'm not throwing away as much because of lighting. The 360 modification is 5.7K, but remember, that's talking about everything being recorded in 5.7. Once it's broken down to a single frame, it's about somewhere between around 1080p. You do get a lot of convenience for having that 360, and if you have really good lighting, it can look really, really good, especially with action shots and stuff like that. But personally for me, I would sacrifice a little bit of quality on the video side to have that convenience of being able to show all around my car, not have to worry about where I'm pointing the camera. That's just a ton of fun as a creator, and it just adds a lot of fun and versatility to the watcher, the viewer of the video. Also, another change with the 4K boost modification is we now have active HDR. In the past, you were not really advised to be moving when you're recording with HDR video. So you can see here with regular video mode and HDR side by side that there's a little bit of difference there. I don't generally use HDR, but that is an option now that this one has. Now, I did get a chance to play around a little bit with that 6K lens. It does give that theatrical look to the video. It's kind of fun to mess with, but for my style of editing, I don't use that much. You now have the ability to take 48 megapixel photos, which is nice. And one of the huge upgrades with this new processor is adding more mics to it. You now have a forward-facing mic on the camera, and so now it just picks up so much better audio, and it's a lot clearer. More than half of the video you guys saw today, I was recording directly onto the action camera. Obviously, when you're moving super fast down the road and there's lots of wind and stuff going on, it makes it a little bit more challenging to hear the voice, as I showed you guys for just a split second there, in which case I used an external mic. But when it comes to vlogging, talking to the camera, it just does a spectacular job. I really didn't have much of a need to switch over to my external mic. And along with those audio modes, you do actually get 3 different audio modes. You have the wind reduction mode, which is going to be really nice for those times when you are flying down the road on your bike and you do want to hear some of that, or if you're standing out in the wind, it's going to help a lot with that. We had a windstorm here just the other day, and I went out on my deck to try that out. So these new mics have something called wind reduction mode, and you can see right now that it is actually windy. We actually are having a bit of a windstorm right now. You can see our furniture is blowing around on our deck. We actually have no power at our house right now, and it's only about 15 miles per hour right now, but it is very breezy, right? You're maybe seeing a little bit. I got a lot of gel in my hair. Don't read into that. So you also have directional enhancement and stereo recording. So stereo recording is how I recorded the majority of this video. So the Core has some big updates, but one of the biggest ones is its new processor. It's much smoother using the interface here, very responsive to the finger. You have the mics that have been added to it. But one of the things it can do now that the previous model, the One R, couldn't do is now process the flow state stabilization inside of the camera. So what that basically means then is I could take the SD chip out of this camera and go and plug it right into my computer. And if I have that set on to flow state, meaning I want it to make it stabilize while I'm recording, then it will come right out of the camera smooth and ready to go, already processed. Now, you can also change that setting to show post, which means that it's only going to do the flow state processing on the app when you process it after. I think the reason why you would not do it is because you want to have more control. You're going to be editing the clips anyway in post, like I mostly do, so why use up the battery and do that sooner? But you do have the ability to do it on the camera if you just quickly want to take a video, post it on Instagram or whatever else you're going to use it for. If you're not planning on doing a lot of post editing, that's a really big deal. This Core also offers 50% faster Wi-Fi transfers. So that means that if you're going to be working on the photos and editing your videos on the app, you can just send them straight over to the phone over Wi-Fi, and it is now twice as fast. And I did very much notice that. I edited every one of these videos you saw today on the phone app, transferred it all over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth to my phone, and it was a lot faster. You can also now zoom while you're recording, which is another new feature not found in the One R that is here in the RS, which is actually pretty cool because generally you would have to stop recording to change your zoom level, but now you can just tap right on the right side there and actually make those changes. We now have this little Q in the top right corner, which is a quick menu where you have these presets. Like you can see here, I have photo in there, active HDR, active photo, time lapse, some quick settings that you can go in there and save, and then you're just ready to go. Now let's talk about this case, because this case is awesome. In the old case, it was multiple steps, quite challenging actually to get the camera in and out, made you really not want to change the mods around because it just was so much work. But now this new case, as I've shown you guys kind of throughout the day, is really cool. I mean, it snaps right open, the camera slides in really easily and then snaps right back closed. And when it's in the case, it's actually up to 16 feet waterproof. And I'm really excited about that because having the ability to not have to worry about water is kind of a big deal when you're traveling and vlogging, and I just really love that that is now the case with this camera. Also on the top of the case there, you see this little bit of a foam right here. That is where the top mic goes. So this also really helps with muffling a lot of that wind sound and everything when it's inside the case. And the case also offers the ability, just because of the materials it's made out of and the way it's made, to keep it a lot cooler. And I've watched other people testing this out online, and where the other action cameras, including the GoPro Hero 10, quickly got overheated, the Insta360 One RS actually went all the way until the battery died at the same heat because of this case and just how they work together. So that's actually a huge deal, especially if you're in hot climates and really putting that camera under high demanding situations. Now you have all kinds of modes on here. You have photo, you have video, you have active HDR, you have time lapse, you have time shift, you have slow motion, and slow motion's pretty great. You've got a couple different options here. You can go up to 100 frames per second at 2.7K, which, I mean, it's not like fantastic. You got something called loop recording, and then you have your 6K widescreen mode, your burst mode, your star lapse, your night, interval, and then back to HDR photo. So you have a lot of modes to play with all inside this one camera. Obviously, we're not going to go through all of those there. Now, Insta360 did something that is actually pretty great with this camera. They did not make it so all the new modules do not work with the previous camera. So for example, this is the One R. I can still take the new 4K boost module and I can clip it right onto that there. And so now I have the 4K boost mod on the old camera. So if I wanted to just upgrade the 4K lens, I can just get that. The 360 module doesn't really have any changes there. The biggest changes were to the core unit as well as to that 4K lens. So we'll be playing with this camera a lot in future drives, at least the next 3 or 4 drives on the channel. And we'll be looking at all the different modes and figuring out more ways to use this camera to really make these videos stand out and be a little bit different. So make sure that you stick around for some of those in the upcoming weeks. Dog, stop squeaking your squeaker. I totally forgot to record a close to this video, but at least you guys get to see the new haircut. So if you guys want to pick up one of these cameras or learn more about them, I'll put the link for this down below in the description as always. Make sure to leave a comment what you think of this camera. I'd be curious to see what that is. And if you purchase one of these, let me know down below in the comments so I can thank you for using my code. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.